Critters was released in 1986. The horror sci-fi paid homage to classic B-movies and had plenty of humour. It made its budget back more than 4 times over in the US alone. However, many wrote it off as just another Gremlins rip-off. 4 decades later, it's considered a cult classic and has spawned 4 sequels and a short-lived TV series. It's one of my favourite movies growing up and definitely a gateway film for me in the horror genre. It sparked an interest in sci-fi and mad movies. I borrowed a copy from my brother, which I watched over and over again. In this episode of Beyond Graves and Stars, I'm joined by Ian Pointer, who's never seen the movie, and Cameron Hill, who's a regular listener and also watched the movie at a young age. 2 bounty hunters are pursuing the Krites, an alien species who cause havoc wherever they go. They arrive in small-town America, and what we get is an 80s classic.
Of all the planets in the galaxy, they chose ours. They hide in small places.
This phone is dead.
What?
They like the dark.
Jay, any luck?
Just a minute.
There's nothing cute about them. They've come a long way, and they're hungry. Critters, they bite.
We have just watched Critters, and thanks for joining me, Ian, who's returning for, well, you've been on a few times now, haven't you?
6th or 7th time, I would say.
Yeah. Last time, he was actually on the last episode I released, which was the Freddy versus Jason.
Yes.
And so it's a double Ian, a whammy, and newcomer who's been a listener of the show, Cameron. Welcome.
Hello.
I love that this is the first podcast you've been on and you just waved as you said hello. Cameron is a few years younger than us, and unlike Ian, he has seen Critters before. Do you want to just tell us the first time you saw it?
Roughly, because it's been so long, it was with my uncle when I was about 7 or 8, I want to say. Might have been younger.
Okay.
And one of the first horror films I think I watched, it was that or The Thing.
Okay, yeah. So that's a nice lead into it. So the film now, actually, it was a 15 when I was growing up. It was one I watched when I was really young. I actually remember watching it we had friends around when I was probably late primary school, and we watched it on my birthday. And one of the other parents complained because we put it on, because it was then at 15. Now we're 12, and rewatching it, I'm not actually sure it should be a 12. It's comedy, but there is quite a lot of violence as well.
There's more violence than I expected.
Yeah. So we'll just start with, because obviously Ian is new to the movie. Firstly, as you say, the violence wasn't what you said. Was the movie what you expected going in? And what were you hoping for going in?
Well, this is the question. I mean, I didn't really have any expectations. I knew there were about these little critters that are going around being pests. That's all I kind of knew, right? But I had no idea of where it was based. Even if it was American, I actually didn't know. I was that sort of innocent to it. But But yeah, and I had the expectations it would be a bit like Gremlins, which I saw mirrors of throughout. To be honest, it was that sort of thing, and it was tongue in cheek. I didn't have expectations for it. I would say it was exactly what I would have expected it to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What I was going to ask was it more sci-fi than you thought?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's advertised, the poster originally was just one of the creatures. It came out a couple of years after Gremlins, even though the writer is adamant that he wrote it before Gremlins. So let's talk about that now, the Gremlins thing, because I believe him. I believe it was written before Gremlins, but I also think if it wasn't for the success of Gremlins, it wouldn't have got made. But as a fan of it, and I watched this not long after I watched Gremlins, apart from the fact that it's little creatures, and I suppose in a small town, I don't think there's much more in common. This is a lot more sci-fi. It's obviously that's Spielberg who produced Gremlins, and Joe Dante directed it. So it's really got a Spielberg feel. Whereas this is New Line and produced by Robert Shaw, who done Nightmare on Elm Street. So I see the similarities, but do you guys think they're as strong as what a lot of people think?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, like, I've not seen it or known anyone that has sort of seen it, but I think, yeah, I don't know what you think, Cameron. I mean, is it how you remembered it,
I remember from my first watch 3 years ago. It was very Gremlins-esque, but I think it's because it is just little critters running around.
Yeah. Had you seen Gremlins before this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because I think as youngsters, there were a lot. There was Ghoulies and things like that as well. I think it was more when it got reviewed. It was compared to Gremlins, and I think because of the little creatures, people thought it would be a Gremlins rip-off more than it actually was. Now, when it came out, there was a review by Robert Ebert from Big American Critic, who put, "What makes Critters more than a rip-off is its humour and sense of style. This is a movie made by people who must have had fun making it." So even in that little part of the review, there is a reference for it being a rip-off. I think there is a lot of love gone into it, but also I've noticed on this rewatch, I had it on in the background when the Blu-ray first came out a few years ago, but I haven't properly watched it to analyse it, probably ever. But there's a lot of references in this movie to other movies. One thing that actually stood out to me this time was there's a bowling alley scene, and there's a bit where it gets sort of shot up and stuff, and everybody runs out of it, and that is very reminiscent of the famous scene in The Blob in the cinema. And then throughout, there's little nods to things. Even the cat's called Chewie, which is obviously sci-fi reference to Star Wars, which was huge at this point. The guy's got a bowling shirt with the logos like Ghostbusters. There's the obvious E.T.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys know, the highest credited person on this movie was Dee Wallace Stone then. But Dee Wallace, who was the mum in E.T., is the mum in this. So that's a nice little nod. And maybe they got her from that Spielberg appeal like Gremlins, so maybe that's another little thing that I hadn't really thought of. But throughout it, there's nods to things, there's humour, but I don't see it as like a silly spoof or anything like that. No. It's a homage to B-movies.
Yeah.
And that small town feel is very B-movie as well. Very 1950s. Even it's not set in the 50s. It's set in the 80s clearly, as we know from. We should talk about now a character I like of Og, who's one of the two bounty hunters, and the two bounty hunters transform into locals of whatever planet they're on, and he sees. Before he even gets there, when they're looking at TV footage, the singer Johnny Steele, and he turns into him, and the most 80s music video I've ever seen, written for the film, not a real band, and Johnny Steele is played by Terrence Mann, he is an actor, but more known for stage. He'd just come off starring in Cats before this, and some of the people behind the movie wanted Billy Idol to play that character. If he did, we'd have had a different film, and it would probably be remembered for different reasons, or maybe not remembered as well. But this was 1986, and to me, is that not just John Bon Jovi? Have they not just done a John Bon Jovi?
Yeah, maybe.
I was going to say when they're scrolling through the video,
Yeah.
I think Bon Jovi shows up just before
Oh,
John
okay.
Steele, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. I thought that might have been because there's so much.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because the video is very much like a cheaper version of the Lived on a Prayer video, even the bit where he sort of jumps in over the camera. But that for me, that character and that music really puts you in the 80s and keeps you in the 80s, which is cool because I thought it was made in 86. It's remembered as one of these, I'd say great B movies. I mean, it was a small budget. It had 3 million, but it made 13 million. And I'm not even 100% sure it got a cinema release in this country. I think it didn't. I think it just came out in America and they made all the money like over there. Obviously, there's sequels, hence this miniseries I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, simple plot, isn't it? And but yeah, I mean, did you two? What did you think of the bounty hunter characters? I bet that's something just going by the cover, Ian, you wouldn't have anticipated.
No, I had no idea. I mean, I would say, okay, so the film starts and you're clearly in the middle of this sort of alien politics that's going on, and you can tell that they're trying to get them and whatnot, and you don't really know exactly what's going on. But I didn't expect that there would be like these bounty hunters who, you know, it turns out at the end they're not really bad. They're just trying to do their job and just get rid of these critters.
Yeah.
But they just don't really know how to, the general etiquette of planet Earth on how you go about that. You know?
Yeah, and another sort of homage to 80s action films. They don't care. They're blowing everything up. They destroy a bowling alley, a church, and in the end, spoiler alert, the house of the antagonists. But as they're being sent off by this weird, they said there's the politics, there's this weird floating alien green character where I think the makeup effects are pretty cool for a low budget film. They're sent off and he's saying to them, don't try not to do so much damage this time. They cut him off, like they don't care. They just want to get these critters who have landed on Earth, and all you can get from that is they've landed, they're getting away from whatever trouble they've caused. They basically land on Earth as a pit stop to get food. Yes. So they've landed there to eat, and then chaos ensues. You do get a good sort of half an hour of getting to know the characters in the town, which I think is nice. They're all likeable characters.
Yes.
And a very strong cast for a small movie. Did any of you recognise any of the actors?
I did recognise some. But
Billy Zane, isn't it?
Billy Zane is Steve, the boyfriend of the daughter, April. Who he's got his ponytail. He's kind of yuppie-ish for the 80s, and something I've never picked up on before. When you see his car pull up, the number plate is 2 Greats.
Yeah.
And this, I believe, it's not his first movie, obviously, but I think it's his first talking role because he's in Back to the Future, isn't he? But I don't think he says anything in the first one. He's just a fog.
He does. I think I don't know about the first one. Yeah, I don't know about the first one.
Yeah,
because the second one he said, "How the hell did he change his clothes so fast?"
Yeah,
I think
he comes. He's back in he's in both the sequels, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then obviously he went on to bigger things such as Titanic, where some people I can't remember exactly what, but some people who worked on this film ended up working on Titanic. And Billy Zane starred in The Phantom, which was a big film but didn't do very well, comic book movie. And the music for that was done by David Newman, who done the music for this, who done a lot of stuff. And a lot of, like I said, people started in this movie and gone on to bigger things. Yeah. Was there anybody recognised?
Yeah, the large policeman.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I've seen him. I think I've seen him in a couple of episodes of Outer Limits.
Cool.
In other stuff. But I don't know him distinctively to sort of say I know him in that film or whatever. Very
well known character actor. He's never really the star, and that's Emmett Walsh, who he's in Blade Runner actually. Blood Simple was not long before this, and they wanted to get him for this after that movie. But I know him from the Steve Martin film The Jerk from 1978. He's in that, and Helen the Mum, obviously I mentioned before, Dee Wallace. Big, obviously E.T., but very renowned horror actress in The Howling. She was in The Hills Have Eyes. And spoiler alert for future episodes, she does come back in one of the sequels. Although I thought, looking through it, I was looking at the cast members. It says that a lot of them are in part 3, but that's all flashbacks, and you only get the son, Scott Grimes, who plays Brad, who goes on to become the hero of the movie. Other than him being in part 2, and you do get Charlie is the recurring character, who I love the character of Charlie. We meet him early on in the movie, and he's been locked up, hasn't he, for basically drunk and disorderly.
He wasn't locked up though.
No, the door's unlocked.
The door's unlocked, and he's got his whiskey or whatever.
Yeah, they're just looking out for him, and it's that small town.
Yeah.
So Charlie is the town drunk. He was. It says that he sort of nearly went on to be a ball player or something, and then it all went wrong. And he works as a handyman at the farm with the main family. And he is played by, and I never remember his name because he's not done actually too much other than Krites. Why have I not made a note of his name? We're recording this like it's a live radio show, and I've got Billy Zane. I've got, but yeah, Charlie is played by Dunkeith Opper. That's that, and his brother Barry Opper was producer on the movie. Not credited actually, but on a lot of the documentaries. No, Opper, as in Don, worked behind the scenes on Roger Corman movies. He worked on Beyond Graves and Stars. No. Battle Beyond the Stars, which is where we got this. One of the things we got this title from, and then went on to small roles in films.
Yeah.
Then he got involved in this one. I'm assuming because his brother produced it. I think he's really good in this. He starts off as the drunk who's got all the conspiracy theories. He thinks aliens trying to communicate with him, and then he basically comes around, and him and the son, who I always call Billy, but it's Brad, played by Scott Grimes, who I mentioned in a minute, go on to become the heroes really. And Charlie, one of Og's sidekick, the other bounty hunter, morphs into him. And then you see another side of Opper's acting, because I think for a guy who got into acting by accident, he's really good. He's the stern bounty hunter, and then the crazy, almost comedy. Yeah, he's a bit of a comedy anyway, but he's the comic relief in this.
Yes,
and I think he does a fine job.
I was going to say it's quite cool to see his acting skills when you've got him stood next to the bounty hunter version of himself.
Yeah.
Being stoic and not saying anything, and then Charlie's just going mental. He's seeing himself being taken over. Yeah.
It's really well done as well for the budget, as I say. I just want to mention as well, while sort of going through the cast, Brad Brown, played by Scott Grimes. I'm surprised you guys didn't recognise him. He's gone on to do a lot of stuff, and he's one of the main actors in the Orville, the sci-fi show.
I know it, but I haven't seen it.
So same here. Okay. But he's done a fair few films. He's even got a small-ish role in Oppenheimer, and he's the voice of the son in American Dad as well. So
yeah, I was now that you said his name, I know who it is, but I never would have got from him being that young who he was.
Okay, yes. So I think he's good, and his sister April, played by Nadine van der Waal, who I haven't seen anything else, but she's in a kids kind of B movie called The Munchies, which I really want to see. It looks like a little creature, comedy creature. But I think she's really good as well, and I really like in this movie the relationship between the family members, because to me it's funny, but it also feels real. As it opens, you've got a breakfast scene with the two kids, they're teenagers, but kids arguing.
Like teasing each other.
Yeah. He's trying to skive off school, messes up by making his temperature far too high. And then she points out that in his exam that day, they argue a bit. And then in a very 80s style, the dad says, I'll skin you and things like that. Which is like, but then what I really like about it is you see that the family all love each other and look out for each other. When they think that April's gone off with Steve, you hear a scream, and Brad is straight out to help, and he's constantly asking how she is. And the character, I think, even though this was probably when it came out PG-13 or R, I think it was PG-13, but not aimed at young kids, but they knew young kids would watch it. So you see that it's what a kid wants to be. They get told off for messing about with slingshots and that sort of thing, and then they, man up, for use of a better term, and become the hero. And the kid saves the family. Dee Wallace is the main credit, but she's good in it. Yeah. But she's the mum to the main character.
Yeah. And the family values there. It's like the ideal sort of American, sort of home.
Yeah, that cherry pie type.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it certainly, that breakfast scene shows that. And I imagine when I was young, I don't remember that bit when I was young. But when you're a kid, you're probably like, okay, just get on with it. Get on with it. But as an adult, you watch it, and it makes you warm to the characters, which makes it stand out as B movies go. I mean, I remember, and we've still got the background screen on here from the Blu-ray. But things that stand out for me as a kid are obviously the critters, but then there's the transformation scene, where the first time you see them change, and you see it goes from a green face to blood over a skull, and that's. It's not unlike the scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the guy melts.
Yeah.
But I quite those effects I like. Yeah. There's a lot of practical effects. Overall, we'll talk about the puppets in a second, but the other special effects like the spaceships and things like that. What do you guys think of that?
Well, what I want to actually ask Cameron, because I can imagine there were visuals that really left an impression on you when you were young, and they're in your head. And I'm just curious, what were the scenes that stuck with you, like when you were young, that you thought, oh, Critters, that's a scene that I really...
Well, definitely the barn scene. I can remember that off by heart. The when his face, the face builds up from the bottom. I remember that, and I still think it holds up today as a special effect.
But the
face forming.
Oh yeah, the thing I said, yeah.
I remember that's ingrained into my memory, and the porch scene with the critters.
The
porch, when they're on the porch.
Oh, porch! Oh yeah. That's because it becomes a bit of a home invasion.
Yeah.
But one thing of this watch, and it's the Blu-ray's been cleaned up, and I think it all looks really good, apart from the opening scenes in space. Kind of felt a bit cheap to me now. But then as the film goes on, it gets into that small town. I mean, obviously you've grown up, the tail end of practical effects, but more CGI. Yeah. Does it look noticeably good or bad to you overall?
Compared to modern effects, it looks a bit dated. But when it comes to practical effects in the modern age, I think that still holds up with what is being done today.
Okay, yeah. Especially for the small budget.
Yeah.
And those scenes you say that stuck in here, that the porch scene, that's very, for me, that was a memorable scene.
Yeah. I can imagine that would have felt quite menacing as a young, a young child with this idea that these little things are coming toward you, and you have no idea how powerful they are.
Yeah, I'll mention as well. I said that I showed this at my family put it on at a birthday party as a kid. Early on, when the critters are sort of, you don't quite know what's going on with them. There's a scene where one pops up and you see the red eyes. That upset a kid at my birthday party to the fact that it scared him and he was in tears. But we were really young, and it's weird, those little things that scared him. But them biting people and the whole skeleton blood thing, and that didn't scare him. But that little bit did, which. I suppose the subtleties in horror are often a lot more frightening than someone getting their head ripped off.
Yeah, and I think at that point you hadn't had lots of grotesque stuff happening later, so it was just like this. You just see these two eyes. I can imagine that would have been like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Cameron, how do you feel when you see the critters on the screen, right? And you see all the sharp teeth and stuff. Does it still have the same sort of impact that you remember?
Well, as a child, I just remember thinking, look at the critters, because when I was younger, I was just, when it comes to the little puppets and all that, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And they're funny.
Yeah, they're not...
They're vicious little things, but they're kind of likeable.
Yeah.
And they're not unlike a more aggressive minion. They've got that sort of that sound. There's one guy, I forget his name, who done all the voices, and They are amusing, and when the little bit of talking they do, which is subtitled, there's little like "let's roll" and things like that, and it's just funny.
The best bit when they are talking is just they have weapons. So what?
Yeah.
One of them just gets blown up with a shotgun, and he goes, "Oh,
Oh, F word.
Yeah,
Yes.
F word, yeah.
Which is fuck, by the way, listeners.
I should try to ride my language.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's all right if I do it, but yeah, and that's another. That's the only real swear in the film, and that was written.
The boy said, "Holy."
Oh yeah, but strong.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. A swear that would push it over from a PG.
Gotcha.
But the violence definitely does. But I can see when I watched this as a youngster, I can imagine just looking up on the title thing, the red eyes just comes up. But when I watched this as a kid. Yeah, it's a blur, and they probably remember. But 100% reckon my parents would have watched it first and thought, you know what, it's not that bad. That'll be all right. It's actually, like I say, it's got those. You mentioned it, Ian. It's got those wholesome values. And one thing when you don't so much get it now. But growing up, we'd have all had people complaining about horror bad for the youth and that sort of thing. But it is that coming together, good coming over evil. So I think it's, unless a kid does get scared by it, there's nothing bad in this film other than, family comes together with friendship to get over the bad thing, And
I think it's just the right balance of kind of grit and humour. It's just right.
Apparently it was meant to be a lot darker, and I think the balance is right. If it was too dark, it would just be another horror film. And it's certainly, I'd say, more darker and more adult than the likes of Gremlins and things like that. So it's got that balance. The film it's compare it in tone the most with, if I'm honest, is Tremors, because you've got that small town obviously, but you've got the friends coming together over a creature or creatures, and it's that right balance of subtle humour. Not silly, not even I love it. Not Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The jokes work, the horror works. It's not too extreme, but it's definitely a horror, And
there's something else that I sort of take from the pace of it, and it tends to be the case with a lot of these films that the child sees something and the adults don't believe him. He's just being an idiot. Yeah. But that didn't happen with this. They all saw it. They were right. They all saw it independently. He wasn't trying to convince them, and I like that. They were all on the same page.
But you had Charlie as the child.
Yeah.
In a way, in this movie, because Charlie, even though he works at the farm that the family live on, he's friends with the kid. So it's like they're the two kids, and Charlie. They all see it. That's the thing. But Charlie thinks it's coming, and there is that. Oh, it's just that nutter. Yeah. And I don't think that if it had been a kid doing that, which, like you say, would have happened in so many more films, would have been it's another cliche. But the fact there's an adult doing it, I think it works.
Yeah.
And you get this a lot in these movies as well, the friendship between an adult and a child, which nowadays you don't get so much for reasons probably, you know what I mean? But I like that, because growing up, when you're a kid and you see someone older you admire, you want to be their friend. You want to grow up faster. And I think that's why there's stuff like this in this film, and it happens in like Leprechaun and other stuff. And when with a childlike adult, it's harmless, but brings the audience, the younger audience, into the film more, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I like that, but you don't see it more, because nowadays I think everyone's a bit worried about why would this adult be hanging about with this kid? But it's innocent. It's not written in any.
No, yeah.
And in a way, as I say, in a way, Charlie almost looks up to Brad in this. So we haven't mentioned much about the behind the scenes stuff. Obviously, it's New Line. It's produced by Robert Shea, who done Nightmare on Elm Street and lots of things. But the director has gone on to do absolutely loads. And Ian will probably most be interested in. He done Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, one of my faves. Yeah,
which is a time travel comedy classic.
Yes.
But he's also gone on to do so much more. And would you believe it? I made a note saying Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and then just like click on your phone, and then the internet's been troublesome. But I've got it. So after Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, It's Stephen Herrick. Do you remember Don't Tell Mum the Babysitter's Dead?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mighty Ducks, Three Musketeers, that's the Kiefer Sutherland one. Then Mr. Holland Opus, Richard Dreyfuss Oscar-nominated movie. 101 Dalmatians, the live action, which is where all the live action ones start. And then it starts to go a little bit downhill with Eddie Murphy's Holy Man. And then he directed a Black Sabbath music video. Then Rockstar with Marky Mark. And then it's kind of just after that, nothing a huge hit. Like he done Into the Blue 2 and things like that. Okay. So I was doing a lot of TV, including a show called A Young MacGyver, which I imagine didn't do that well.
No.
But interestingly, he done, this is what I want to lead on to, because we mentioned the sheriff character played by Emmett Walsh. Did you notice there's a scene where he's woken up in bed? He hasn't got a wife, single man, but he's got a picture of someone by the side of his bed.
I didn't notice that.
He's got, being the Kansas sheriff, he's got a picture of Dolly Parton beside his bed. And the director went on to... The director went on to... direct Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colours in 2015 and Dolly Parton's Christmas of Many Colours, Circle of Love the year later. So a little Dolly Parton connection there. If only Dolly Parton had made more sci-fi and horror, we could talk about her more. But to be honest though, who doesn't like Dolly Parton? That's
it's hard not to like.
Yeah. And he also went on to direct episodes of the Rush Hour TV series, the remake of Hawaii Five-O and MacGyver. But you got to think, guys, getting on. I think he's had a good career in directing, and it all started with Critters, which is pretty cool.
So we can't criticise.
Critters. How long have you been waiting to get that in?
Well, I was waiting for the Critters' eyes to come back.
Critters' eyes. I like it.
I've been sorry. Andy brought with him this. What would you call that? A toy, a doll, a stuffed critter. Right, and he's put it next to the TV, and it's staring right at me.
Yeah,
and I'm feeling a little bit uneasy about
yes, if only I could have set it so the eyes just suddenly went red. So yeah,
I can imagine this would have been such a one for you, Cameron, watching when you were young. That would have really stayed with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, since I started doing this podcast, and after you start listening, you mentioned Critters, and that's one of the reasons that I was like, it's one of my favourite smaller franchises, and it's one of those films that this was so glad that you being how old are you? Sorry, I always ask you this. 23. So I'm 20 years older than you. So I watched it probably around the same age as you did.
Yeah.
But those 20 years, a lot's happened in the world. And even probably 10, 15 years ago, I rewatched it with some people who I knew from sixth form. Might be a bit longer ago than that. I watched it. And they thought it was laughable and didn't enjoy it. Whereas I was the other way around. I was like, nostalgia-wise, yes. But I love the effects. I think they're clearly puppets, but they look cool. We're adults. We're like, okay, that's a puppet. But the noises they do, the expressions, the different, it feels real.
Yeah, they feel very lifelike.
They feel like a proper being, don't they?
Yeah, and it's a well-made film with a great cast and with a plot like this, as well as a great script. There's some great lines. Yeah. With this sort of thing, it could be terrible. But I don't think it is, and I think sometimes because of the themes of it, and we're adults now, people are like, oh, that's a bit naff. But you've got to escape from it and think this was not intended to win Oscars. It wasn't intended to change the world. It's intended to be entertainment. Drive-in cinemas, midnight showings, rent with your mates, have a laugh. And I think it's certainly that. You've got the sci-fi appeal as well as the horror appeal. How many filmmakers now or special effects guys saw this movie and thought, I want to do that, because it does look, it's simple things like the critters, they turn into balls and roll. They on set they got the balls and just rolled them and filmed it. But it's because it's made in good hands, it looks good. Even there's the giant critter. There's one of the critters obviously eats more, gets huge, and you see bits of it. Like first you see the feet, and then you see the arm. And okay, it's a bloke in a suit. It's not unlike a creature from the Black Lagoon. But because it's done, as the reviewer said,
done with love, and the cast are good, I think it works. How many films have you poorly made B movies you've seen with a bloke in a rubber suit? Like, that's just naff. This isn't that.
Well, it wasn't really vivid on screen, was it?
That's what I mean, because it was well done.
It was well angled.
I think you only see the back of it in full once when they're going onto the spaceship, don't you?
Yeah.
And then when they're on the ship, you only see its face.
Yeah. So, and then you see the feet at one point, and then you see the arm comes through a wall or something and gets the daughter, doesn't it? So it's done well. So to me, there's no standout bit of naffness, because sometimes you do get that odd scene. Even as much as I love it, at the end of A Nightmare on Elm Street, when the mum gets pulled through the door, it's clearly a dummy and just looks fake. Whereas the tone of this and everything kind of is on par with everything. And I just think it's a well constructed, well paced movie compared to other ones at the time, like Ghoulies and Troll and things like that, which I enjoy because they're fun. But I enjoy this because I think it's just a good film.
Go back to what you said earlier. You can tell that when it was made, the cast and everyone behind the scenes was just having a roll. Yeah. And it really goes to show with how you can sit down and watch the movie and just have a fun time with it.
Yeah, and and also the serious character actors in this. It must have been like a bit of a relief for them to do something less serious. And then you've got Terrence Mann, who's come from stage and probably wanting to break into movies, so he's giving it 110%. Scott Grimes, child actor, been in other stuff, but for him this is a big step forward in his career. And by interviews I've seen and read, he's like an adult on set. He was professional but had fun. And there's often you hear things of child actors either being pampered to or just thinking they're a megastar early on, whereas with him, he was loved by the cast and they got on with it. And I think that's why he's still acting now, and he's never become your Tom Cruise, but he's a well-regarded actor who is working non-stop.
Yeah, if you see something and it says Scott Grimes in it, you'll go, that'll be an interesting check out.
Yeah. I always think that whenever I hear his name of the Simpsons character Grimesy. Have you ever seen that? No? Grimy, yeah. So I just can't help but think of that. So I wouldn't. One mistake I did make, Terrence Mann comes back for the other films as well, or some of them, I believe. And they went on to do 4 more.
I think 5, because they've done 4 main ones and they've done a remake, didn't they?
Yeah, so 4 more. Yes. Well, not a remake. There's Critters Attacks came out a few years ago, and I will be doing an episode on that. And Dee Wallace is back in that, briefly. And there was a TV series made for Shudder a few years ago, but it was never put on the UK Shudder, so I've never seen it. Apparently, it's really bad, but people say the sequels are some of the sequels are really bad. I'll let the listeners know later what I think of that as I go through them. But all I can say is, if you like, and they'll say to you, if you enjoyed this one, you might have already seen it, Cameron, but the second one I think is a top quality sequel.
I think I've watched the second one and I can't really remember that one.
It's one of the few Easter horrors that exist.
It is an Easter.
It is, yes, an Easter film. But Ian, being a newbie, would you watch the sequels? Does it make you feel?
Yeah, I would watch the sequels. To be honest, at that pace and the sort of style it is, and based on what you sort of said, even though you haven't sort of said much, I think it'd definitely be worth the watch.
Yeah. And Cameron, would it inspire you to go on and watch more of the franchise?
I will definitely go back. I'll probably go home and watch the second one tonight.
Yes, and the second one is cool. They go different ways. I mean, most listeners of this, even if they haven't seen it, will know that the third one is Leonardo DiCaprio, one of his first films, if not his first film. And it's quite a well-regarded franchise. The second one did get a cinema release, I believe, in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When Raphael walks out of a cinema, it's Critters what he's seen, and he makes a little comment about puppets and creatures. He makes some line about it, and then after that it was straight to video affair. But it was one of those things that as a kid I loved. You'd see it when you think video shops, the displays, and it's that era. and I don't think it's been done better. If it hasn't been done much better. I mentioned Tremors is probably the closest, but then Tremors turned into a big franchise with very CGI special effects, whereas this all the way through sticks with the old school feel, and that's why when I do the episodes, I'm going to do the newer one as well. Already got a guest lined up for that one. Should we do ratings out of 5, people?
Yeah, Cameron, where would you?
Yeah, I'm trying not to do it off childhood nostalgia.
I'd
say
do gut and heart reaction.
4.2.
Yes, that's a good rating. That's but you can tell there is some childhood nostalgia for that. But that's good. Oh, before I do go on to Ian, I'll do you the professional stats, what it's got on various things. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 52%, bit low in my opinion. On IMDb, I've written 61 out of 10, which I imagine is 6.1 out of 10. Bit better, and about the same on Letterboxd. It's got 3 out of 5. Ian?
I'd put 3.5 there.
3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I think no, it's good. It's a jolly good film. Very much rewatchable, and yeah.
I am going to do one podcast soon. I want you on it, and if Cameron wants to come back, where I actually do film it, because you just pointed that you'd written down and you've waved. Yeah. We'll do one for you. I did
actually write it down. Yeah.
So you knew you've been on it. Looking on my my Letterboxd, I've given this a 4.5, and now I've analysed it more and looked into it with you guys. I'm gonna give it a 1. No, I'm not. I'm gonna put it up to 4.5 because I think I've said this about a lot of the films that we've talked about, but it's got a job to do. That job isn't what a lot of people regard as I would, but it's not Oscar worthy, that sort of thing. But it does exactly what it's supposed to, and you know what? That little bit more as well. I can't quite give it a 5-star. But there's a few little things that bug me slightly, like they're there for food. Why are they dragging the daughter to the ship? That's maybe to share the food, I don't know, but they don't really explain. There's a little things. It's not perfect, but it's a
pretty high score, and yeah.
I was going to say for me as well, it's the fact when they're looking at the cow and there's a giant spaceship directly to the right of them. Walk away without seeing it.
That's true. Yeah. So there's little things like that. But yeah, like I say, I mean, I can see. Yeah, I joke that. I think 52% is a little low because that's like 2.5. But the 3 out of 5 and the 6 out of 10, I get, because it's not everyone's genre, it's not everyone's sort of thing. You know, so if people put it on by accident, want them to watch, something like Oppenheimer or something, I don't know. It's not to everyone's taste. But for fans of this genre and for this podcast, which is horror and sci-fi, pretty perfect, isn't it? It works very well. So anything else anyone wants to add on 1986's Krites?
Well, I would say I never seen it before. I knew it was going to be good. I just thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And Cameron, you're glad you watched it again?
I'm glad I rewatched it. It lives up to pretty much everything I remember. I look forward to watching the second one.
Yeah. I will add as well that last night I rewatched Crocodile Dundee. Still very good. When I reviewed it, I only gave that 4 out of 5, not 4.5 out of 5. So the Krites is what they're known as, the aliens. I don't even know if we mentioned that. Really enjoyed watching the first one. I look forward to doing all of them, and I will. Cameron, you're welcome back on another show. But if you do watch them, even if you watch them along with the podcast, let me know what you think, and I'll report back to listeners what you think of the sequels as we go along.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You and all the listeners. And thank you very much. I'll be back in a minute after an ad or something to let you guys know what else is going on with this podcast, because before episode 2 of the Krites ones, I've got another special episode to talk about. So thank you all very much. And Power of the Night. Look that song up from Krites. It's brilliant. It's so 80s. Power of the Night keeps on. Shut up, Andy.
I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are childhood best friends with a true crime podcast called
The Criminal Crack. During each episode, one of us presents a true crime case to the other.
And the listener has no idea what the case will be.
So every reaction, question and twisted theory you hear is genuine and off the cuff.
So join us fortnightly on the platform of your choice.
And find us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok by searching at The Criminal Crack.
Bye-bye!
Keep on trucking!
Okay, so I really can't wait to do an episode on Critters 2. That's coming up in a few weeks. I've got a new guest coming on for that one, so I'll let you guys all know about that soon. The next episode, which will be online pretty soon, features Victoria and Jem from The Criminal Crack, who you've just heard an ad from. And we're talking about another movie from 1986. That's Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. A world away from Critters, but released or made at least the same year. And also coming up, I've got Benji coming back, and we're going to be talking about some of the Universal Soldier sequels. We've done an episode on the first one a while ago, and I'm itching to get into them because I've not even seen any of the sequels, so that'll be fun, hopefully. And Lee Richmond is returning, and we're going to do an episode comparing the original Wes Craven classic The Hills Have Eyes with the more recent sequel. So thank you all for listening, and I'll be back very soon. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials, and if you could, please give us those 5-star or high ratings, because that really helps spread the word, and we want to get more of us involved talking about these fun movies. I've been Andy Martin, and hopefully you'll all join me again very soon.